Hello, guys. So it was really great meeting everybody and seeing everybody in class, and I am so happy that there were so many people in there. That is awesome. And it shows that, everybody who goes to the classes, the live sessions, not just my class, but all the courses, always do better. So that's awesome. So here's that video I promised to actually show how to test your computer and make sure your computer can run the software. So once you've gotten everything and you've downloaded it, I'm just going to go here. So what I've done is, and the live sessions, see, posting up right there. There's the recording of the live session already. If I go to Files, Maya Files, you'll see a file called Andy New, and that's the one that we're going to use for our test. But you notice it's a zip file like we talked about. So with the zip file, I type in 7-zip download just to do a search. And we'll see right up there, go to download. So before you can download it, but before we start trying to open it and everything, usually if you're on a Windows machine, it's this first one. If it's a recent machine, most likely this is the one you want to download and install. It's a free software that allows you to zip and unzip things, which is awesome. So once that's installed, now I'll go in and I will go to download. It'll get this screen. It's a little big, but not that bad. And then it will start to download that. And then it'll ask where do you want to save it. I created a folder on this drive called Animation and Modeling. Art 85, you could say Art 86 or Intro to Animation, but just so that it is someplace consistent, okay, so that you don't have to keep digging for it. By default, it will want to, Maya will want to go and set the projects to the My Documents, Maya folder, and then there's a projects folder, but you can put it anywhere, you just have to be consistent. So I've already downloaded it, okay? Once it's downloaded, so I'm not going to download it again. Then, as long as 7-zip, if you're on a Mac, you can just extract it. There's a little button, you select it, and you say, I want to extract this. But if I right-click, select it, and right-click on it, you should see there's now a 7-zip option, because I've already installed it. And I'm just going to go over here and say extract here. And what it does is it unloads it, and there's my project folder. Okay. So now I need to remember where this is at. I'm going to select where it is on my computer. It's on the F drive because I have tons of drives. And I'm just going to right click and copy that so I don't have to dig for it. If you put it on your desktop, it's quick access to it, but you want to get out of the horrible habit of double clicking on files, Maya files, before you even get them to open them, because it will wreak havoc. Maya wants projects set. You have to be organized. So I've got where it's at. I right clicked, copied. I've got it extracted, and now we go in and we launch Maya. So that'll take a second depending on your computer and all that good stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to run a few tests and see how your machine works. So I have some files that you can test out rendering and animation for, and that'll make life a lot easier. All right, we just hit OK to this. The first thing I need to do is set my project. So I'm going to go File, Set Project. I've already done it, but what you would do, let's say it was like, it's in the drive. So I would either just come up here and paste, Control V and paste that in and go to it, Or I would navigate to, and this goes up the hierarchy. Oh, I know it's on the F drive. Oh, there's the animation. And there's my project folder. So I have to double click on that. Don't select anything. If you select it, then it's going to set the project to the autosave or whatever selected. So if you have something selected, go inside and then just come blue arrow back up and nothing is selected and we have the set. So I want to be inside of the Andy folder. This is what I see, nothing selected, and then just hit set. And now that my project is set, Maya knows where all the files, the textures, and everything it's supposed to be looking for is. I'm going to go to File, Open Scene, and now here's all the Maya files in my test. So let's just do some quick testing here. So I'm going to go to the render test 1 lit first, and we'll do a render test. So I'm going to open that, continue. So here's my first test. You don't have to move or do whatever. I'm going to go to Arnold render, but if I don't see the Arnold tab, let's just make sure. So if for some reason you don't see it, means we need to turn on Arnold, which is how we'll be rendering. So Windows, Settings and Preferences, Preferences, and click on that. Oops, excuse me, wrong. Windows, let's try that again. So I'm going to go to Windows, Settings and Preferences Plugin Manager. So Windows, Settings and Preferences Plugin Manager. And right in this little search box, I'm going to type in MTOA, Maya to Arnold, and make sure both of those are checked. And then once they're checked, just hit close. You don't have to refresh or browse or whatever, just check those. Now you should have an Arnold view and just hit render. And so it takes a bit. I might be chugging a little bit as I'm not talking much while it's but there we go. Boom, that's done. If you are lucky enough, I saw some of you have like an NVIDIA or RTX card, you'll be able to render faster. I'll talk about that later, but right now I'm just using CPU and yay, we got that. I'm just going to keep that image, click on this little camera to hold on to it for a second so we can see the difference. So this is the lit one. Most of you will not be rendering this way. My Art86 guys, if you're doing modeling, probably will. That's with lighting and stuff. It is not a requirement for Art85, but it's extra points if you can pull it off. It just takes longer. And then you can do some cool lighting that's inside there. All right, so that worked. We passed our first test. Now let's go to the next one. File, open. Oops, and you know what? Before I do that, hit the stop button from rendering. So now I'm going to go File, Open, Arnold Test 2 AO for ambient occlusion. Continue. And let's render again. Press the play. In this render view, if you closed it out, just go back to Arnold Render. And this is how most of you will be rendering. Bam! So that's working. Yay! So that works out. This is what's called an ambient occlusion pass. This is how most of you will render, and you see it looks pretty clean. We can just keep that if we wanted to. Now this is the lit. This is ambient occlusion. This one takes longer. This one is nice. It's just that it's black and white. We'll talk about the differences. So that worked. We passed the rendering test. Yay! So now I can close this, and now let's go to our animation test. So I'm going to go to File, Open. And first we're just going to see if an animation will play and how much it chugs. This is the big one. Animation character test. Open. Continue. It'll take a minute, and bam. Now it's loading everything. There we go. This is my timeline with these little waves that are sound. Might be a little loud, sorry about that. So, but that's working well. Now we hit play to see if that works. Now, we'll talk about textures and stuff, and if your characters are showing up orange, I'll show you how to fix that. But for right now, we're just seeing if it can move and play. So let's just hit play.
In a world where laughter was king.
No, in a world, Jack.
What do you mean, no, in a world?
It's not that kind of movie.
Oh? Okay. In a land that...
No, in a land either.
In a time...
I don't think so.
In a land before time.
It's about a comedian, Jack.
One man.
No.
When your life is no longer your own.
What does that mean?
When everything you know is wrong.
That's wrong.
In an outpost.
No.
On the edge of space.
The space.
A girl.
No.
So you can see this is playing through pretty well. It's not stuttering and chopping, like skipping tons of frames. So it looks pretty smooth. So if it runs like that and it's textured, you pass. Even if it's not textured, I'm going to show you how to fix that. So that brings us to this. If I press the number 5, this is what's called flat shaded view. It's the models, but textures are turned off, lighting is turned off. So when you model, this is how everything looks. When I press 6 on my keyboard, the textures turn on. Now, if they're showing up as orange, I'm going to show you how to fix that in just a minute. And then 7, if you have lights in your scene, will light it. And then you can also, make sure lighting the shadows are turned on, which it should be if that's what it was saved. So, if all that looks good, plays well, you're good. Let's go to the next test. File, open. Movement test. So we've done render test 1, lit, render test 2, AO. Animation character test to see if it plays and moves okay. And our final big test is of workability is movement. So I hit open, don't save. Continue. And here's Andy, the character we'll be working with. So the first thing to note is if your character is orange, like bright orange, that means you might be on one of the old Macs that you've checked out. And I'm going to show you how to fix that. There's a couple of ways. And still get all the texturing. We'll go over that in a second. But first, let's see if we can move. So if I hold down Alt, or if you're on a Mac, Option, the Option key. So either Alt or Option, and I'm holding that down, and then left mouse click and move around. I can move around my camera. Alt or Option and middle mouse pans, and Alt right mouse button, moving the mouse left to right, zooms in and out. So all you have to do is remember Alt or Option, left, middle, or right mouse button. And if you get someplace like I can't focus on the character, just left mouse click on a part of the character and press F to focus on them. And now the camera's focused. So Alt, middle, and left, middle, and right mouse button, or Option, left, middle, right mouse button. So now that's how we navigate and move around. How we move the character, press W, which is the move tool. We can see it here, move, rotate, scale. And then you can select something like certain controllers. Some of these can't move, they just rotate. Some of them are just to pull up options. But like grab the wrist, that little box, and then move that. Just left mouse click and drag, and you see I can move her hand. Press Z to undo. E is rotate. And then I could click and drag. So we're just testing to see if it's going like this, or is it moving smooth? Hopefully moving smooth, because that means that your machine can run it okay. select the box around her waist just by clicking on it, and then I can make her do some exercising. If I grab the circle, I can make her, just the circle, just click on that, grab the center. She's dancing. Grab the head. She's got some tude, a little bit attitude there. What you talking about? And we've got the foot right here that we can move. If your character is moving and it's not going chug, 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 then that means that's a good sign. That means your machine is doing okay. All right. Doesn't mean that it'll run smooth all the time, but it means that it's at least moving it. Where I've seen it, it's not moved at all. So the last thing is if your character is orange or you're on a Mac and it's orange and it's just not working right. There's two things we can do. The first thing, and even if you're on a PC, maybe an older PC, what you should do. Let's go to Windows in Maya. Settings and preferences. So if you're, especially if you're on a Mac and it's just the orange character, I can't see textures, that's okay. We go to display, and for PC, I suggest switching where it says viewport, which is how we're seeing things through this viewport, this camera. DirectX 11 if you're on a Windows machine. If you're on a Mac or one of the borrowed Macs, switch this from strict to OpenGL Legacy. And when you do that and hit save, it's going to say, hey, you need to restart. And so I'd close Maya, reopen it. You don't have to set your project again because you've already set it and it remembers the last thing you did. Just go to File, Open, and open that up and then see if it looks different. Okay. Now, if it still looks wonky or if it's still not working right, and especially if you're on a Mac and you're like, wait, I see the textures, but it's all blurry. I can't see the eyebrows. I got you covered. Go to File, Open, and then you'll see there's an Andy Fix 2. Aha, the fixed one. So I hit Open, don't save, continue. And we've got this. Okay. Now, some of you, when you open it up, it may look weird, right? If you open it up and let me just show you, display, animation, joint size. If for whatever reason your joints looks like this, that means your joints are too big and you don't want to touch or mess with these. So how do I fix that? Go to go to display, animation, joint size, and we'll shrink these down. These are the joints of the character. And then they're really small. I don't want them to I do want them to disappear, but not this way. And then I go to, in my camera view, show, and just turn them off. Boop. And now we don't have to worry about accidentally grabbing them. So everything here is now okay. Plus, this character should now work. And you can see how are you? And we could see that everything is working, and you should see the texture. So if your textures are blurry or if your character is orange, use the fix file. And we can still go in and change Andy's appearance when we get to it. If I click on this little icon, it's called the channel box, and then select the big circle at the bottom, you'll see I can change Andy's features. And I apologize for some of the potentially outdated naming conventions, but it's an old model. But nonetheless, you can change Andy's features, clothes, body type, and hair just a little bit to be more masculine or more feminine. Okay, so that is basically it. If all that stuff worked, congratulations, you shouldn't have a problem. If it's chugging and it's moving, like I select that and it's going, and it's like really not moving well, or the play was doing that, then you probably need to either borrow a computer or use another computer. Let me know if you have questions. But that is the test, the entire walkthrough. So if you pass all that, sweet. You can even post up an image of your character with the texture saying, yay, it works, or post up a picture in the discussion or even if you want to post one up in VoiceThread to test it out and say, no, it didn't. So that's basically how you could do it. And awesome. Oh, and if you wanted to render just so instead of using Arnold, you would just click this little button here for the character to see what the character looks like. So this one right here, blank director's clipboard. And that is it. Please, let me know if you have any questions. Welcome to the class. I can't wait to see what you guys do. Hit me up if you have concerns, worries, questions, and let's have an awesome term. I can't wait to see what creative stuff you guys do. See you next week.